Be sure to go to flipsidegaming.com and use promo code 6 for 10% off on orders over $10. Do the same with the Grizzly Gentleman, 10% off at checkout on your fantastic beard products. Or you could shop via the TCG Player affiliate link in the description down below to help support the show. And last but of course not least, you can go to Grey Viking Games with the affiliate link below to pillage some sweet arena codes. What is up, Planeswalkers? Derek6 back with more Kaldheim set spoilers, preview discussion. Who knows? I don't care. We're going to just jump straight into it and talk a little bit about Niko Eris. Niko is a Planeswalker from Theros. They were a Javelineer who defied their destiny. Yeah, apparently they can capture people in their shards. So first things first, X, white, green, white, blue, blue. We've seen a similar Planeswalker to this in the form of Nissa. I don't remember her name because she was garbage. And I think Niko might also be garbage, but I could be wrong. Nissa, the Nissa was the blue-green one from Amonkhet. Enters with 3 loyalty counters regardless of X. So that's one major difference. When Niko Eris enters the battlefield, create X shard tokens. They're enchantments with pay 2, sacrifice this enchantment, scry 1, then draw a card. Notably, this is slightly better than clue tokens. Whereas clue tokens just pay 2 to draw a card. This one you get to scry first. Sure, that's nice. The fact that it's an enchantment is flavorful, even though they look like shards of glass. Niko is from Theros, so Theros does a lot more with enchantments than they do with artifacts, so I do like that styling. +1, up to 1 target creature you control can't be blocked this turn. Whenever that creature deals damage this turn, return it to its owner's hand. Okay. -1, Niko Eris deals 2 damage to target tapped creature for each card you've drawn this turn. Okay. -1, create a shard token. Okay, so Niko can... So this is interesting, right? Because this is a Planeswalker that is meant to battle for the board, and I appreciate that. It's white-blue, meant to battle for the board, cool, whatever. The +1 represents one of Niko's abilities. Niko can put allies into the shards, throw them, and then the ally can pop out of the shard. It's like when Naruto threw that giant shuriken and Sasuke threw the shuriken. Naruto popped out of it because he was actually like doing a substitution jutsu, whatever. Similar to that. Sure, okay. -1, Niko Eris deals 2 damage to target tapped creature for each card you've drawn this turn. I don't get it. Why can't, like, you already have a restriction on it. I guess, I mean, it's for each, so it's like minimum 2 damage. That's another weird thing. Like, this is just straight up a white-blue card that deals damage. I guess white is able to deal damage to attacking creatures. And the implication, I think, is that this creature has attacked, even though, technically speaking, they could be tapped for other reasons. You know what? Maybe I'm fine. Maybe I'm fine on this card. In terms of like the flavor. Talking about the art, the character themselves. Love the drip. Absolutely love the garb they're wearing. Hair's okay. I'm not a big fan of it, but you know it's fine. I like the way it's dyed. Cool. That chin piece though. That's a not good looking beard, in my opinion. Just a little tiny little goatee in it. Like you can see in the shard, it's like, oh wait, you can see in the shard, it's like it's like very short and thin. No, Like grow it long and then dye it like your hair, right? Like then you got multiple wispy things going on. You know, it works a little bit better. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. It's interesting. It's very interesting. So I feel like it's a little hard to evaluate this card because it does something that white-blue hasn't really done a lot before. And Wizards did mention this when they were initially talking about Niko. I do appreciate that as a white-blue Planeswalker that deals with the board, but also still has those blue elements of unblockability and caring about how often you've drawn a card. It's kind of annoying that you have to bounce your own creature. Oh, that creature deals damage this turn, return it. Yeah, it's kind of annoying that you have to bounce your own creature, but in many cases that can be a plus for blink decks and stuff. I know I've spent a lot of time on Niko, but it's a Planeswalker. Like, I'm going to spend a lot of time on it. It doesn't have a normal, like, ultimate... I don't know. don't know, maybe it's fine. Valky, God of Lies. So I decided to go with this art. I guess I should show the other art for Nico. I don't like this art as much. I think I like Nico better with like a slimmer face. What's this face shape? I think the reason I don't like this one is this face shape is similar to someone I hated in elementary school. I'm not even kidding. Also, the drip, my opinion, not as good. The vibrant, I mean, it looks like red here, but the vibrancy here, I think, really makes the drip nice. Valky, Lord of Lies. We've got, or God of Lies. We got this one. I hate the mutton chops, but, you know, this one, I'm also not a fan. Like, I don't like the butt chin. Why am I'm like talking about these cards in terms of like hotness for some reason. Whatever, it's fine. And then this one, he just looks like the Joker. He looks like a gray Joker, which is upsetting because I really like the art style. I just don't like that it looks like the Joker. And then of course we have the flip version, which we can't see on those, but I don't frankly care. So, Valky. 2 mana, 2/1, legendary creature, God. When it enters the battlefield, each opponent reveals their hand. For each opponent, exile a creature card they revealed this way until Valky leaves the battlefield. Pay X, choose a creature card exiled with Valky. With converted mana cost X, Valky becomes a copy of that card. I just realized something. This is not how I realized. This is not what I thought the thing did when I first read this. But this is a lot of times when you see this, you'll say with this ability or something. What this means is that once you change, I believe you stay there unless you flicker it or whatever. Choose a creature card, exile. Yeah, it just becomes a copy of that card. Okay. So I will say, just off the bat, just looking at this card by itself for what it is, I think this card can be decent in Historic if Uro doesn't hit a ban. And the reason for that is being able to play this on turn 2 and turn 3, turn Valky into an Uro that will allow you to just immediately get that benefit, I think can be quite nice, right? The value with this card is taking an undercosted yet efficient beater from your opponent and then using it against them, right? Even against something like Kroxa. If you're able to play this out, take their Kroxa away, and then turn this into a Kroxa for only 2 mana, that can be very devastating. Sorry for that. I wanted to properly clear my throat. Anyway, and on the flip side, right, so that's something you can do early, and you can be fine with it. But once you get to the later end of the game, you have Thibault Cosmic Imposter, a 7 mana 5 loyalty walker. Now 7 mana is a lot, don't get me wrong, but it's attached to a card that you can play for 2 mana. Even if your opponent doesn't necessarily have anything else in their hand, any creatures in their hand, being able to see their hand is nice, and just having a 2-drop beater can help you. When we look at the backside, as it enters the battlefield, you get an emblem with you may play cards exiled with Thibault Cosmic Imposter, and you may spend mana as though or mana of any color to cast those spells. So I love it. More exile effects. I also love, and this was pointed out by one of my best friends, that Thibault is finally confirmed, recognized more. It's a black-red walker. Thibault has always been a black-red character. It's very strange that he's only been mono-red for a while. +2, exile the top card of each player's library, and that includes your own. So if you're playing something like, I don't know, Grixis, and you have a lot of scry effects, you get to kind of control what's on the top of your library. -3, exile target artifact or creature. Black-red's wheelhouse, getting rid of artifacts or creatures, makes sense, but the fact that you get to exile it is quite nice. And I guess that's part of Black's color, is exiling things. And then -8, exile all cards from all graveyards, add red, red, red. It's interesting that it just adds red. I guess it makes sense because at the core, Thibault is still a red walker, literally. But remember, what this allows you to do, if Thibault is still around, which they made these loyalty abilities such that they expect them to be, you can then spend mana to do things. This includes your own graveyard, and this is not just permanence. You can cast any of those things. Oh, excuse me, this says play. You may play cards exiled with Thibault. This means you can play lands from it, which makes the +2 even better, because now you can't whiff if you and your opponent both exile a land. That's actually huge. Because in the late game, in control mirrors, often what you want are resources and mana. Because if you have a bunch of resources but not the mana, then you're not necessarily going to be able to outcompete your opponent if they just wait until they can deploy 2 threats at once. If you have the mana but not the resources, obviously your opponent can deploy threats, and then you run out of things, and bada bing, bada boom, they have landed a threat. So this allowing you to get things, it's not just during your turn, right? Yeah, I really like this. I think it's really well balanced, especially considering Valky on it. I'm absolutely going to try to play this in Grixis control? Question mark? But yes, the reason I said this is they expect them to be is you +2 twice up to 9, and then you -8. Yeah, I like it. I like it. Inga Runais. This lady over here. 4-mana 3/3 human Vizard. When Inga enters the battlefield, scry 3. When Inga dies, draw 3 cards if 3 or more creatures died this turn. Very interesting card. Now, I recognize that this is kind of a meme in the community. Is like, why isn't this card white? For what it's worth, the majority of this card, I don't think is white. I don't think this card should be white. I just think that this ability would be a good ability on white cards. Like a way to give white card draw tied to creatures, but to specific aspects of creatures that isn't just you have to play tiny creatures, right? 4-mana 3/3. I mean, this card is like nuts and limited. It is only an uncommon, so that's I mean important to note. When it dies, draw 3 cards if 3 or more creatures died this turn. I mean, she might be able to see play in some sort of like very, very weird, like white-blue deck that doesn't care if their own creatures die. And it's not just creatures you control, so like even if it's just Inga, I mean the issue is that she costs 4, right? That's the main issue, is that you don't really want to be playing this on turn 4 in a control deck. But otherwise, like wiping the board with Inga out, even if it's just Inga on your side of the field, but like 2 other creatures on your opponent's, is still good. It's fine. I like the design. Sigrid, God Favorite. I recognize that many of you have seen this card already, but I believe it wasn't truly spoiled until recently, so I'm just going to talk about it now. People have been talking about this card for Death and Taxes, and I don't know. Skyclave Apparition, in my opinion, is just incredibly good. It's so much better. The main thing is that this has flash. Technically, Skyclave Apparition is a lot more versatile, because Apparition can hit any non-land permanent up to CMC 4. This can only hit creatures, and only if they're attacking or blocking. She has First Strike, protection from God creatures. First Strike is nice, especially when paired with something like Thalia. Having 2 power First Strike is okay. Having 4 power First Strike is quite nice. Protection from God creatures is likely not going to matter all that much until Arena like has a true glut of playable gods. 3-mana 2/2 human warrior. Yeah, I mean, and that's the main thing, is that it only hits an attacking or blocking creature, and it gives and the thing is, right, it gives the creature back. With Skyclave Apparition, they don't get the permanent back. They get something that isn't going to be as valuable. As you'll see later on today in my Death and Taxes video, it still has value. Like, giving them that creature, especially against a deck that utilizes relatively small creatures, can be an issue. But I just don't see this card being good in Death and Taxes in any format, because Skyclave is so much better, I think. Call of the Forge Master. 2 mana for a Dwarf Warrior, 2/2. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, if it was enchanted or equipped, return it to its owner's hand. Creature tokens you control that are enchanted or equipped get +1/+1. I've said it once, I'll say it 1,000 times. The fact that they're putting together enchanted and equipped is very, very awesome. It's fantastic. The fact that this card has text for both tokens and non-tokens is great. You know, maybe you'd want the buff to your non-tokens as well, but getting those cards just back is better, right? But if you want to use equipment and enchantments on tokens, you're not fully punished, because this card still does something for you. For example, with the living weapon equipment, this just makes them a slightly bigger. You know, now your I can see the card in my mind's eye. Freaking, it's 5 mana. Oh my god. Batter Skull. Now your Batter Skull comes in with 5 power instead of 4. Is that a ton? No, but it's still like valuable, especially considering you can have something like a Stoneforge Mystic, and then you equip your Stoneforge Mystic, and go ahead and kill it. You can go ahead and put it back in my hand and search for another equipment. It's really nice. Obviously, the fact that it says another is very important. It means that you can't infinitely have coal, which is unfortunate, but whatever. In the art on the right here, he's forging the sword, the something sword. We'll get to it. And then over here we have the Odin character, and I don't know who these are yet. Old Growth Troll. So apparently, this is actually the first thing I want to talk about. These are actually extended arts now. So these have been called extended arts. However, most of the time, they would just zoom in. This is finally an actual extension of the art. The unfortunate bit is, like, just based on how it, like, bleeds into the frame, it just feels still, like, separated and kind of like there's an actual border that you can see. But I do want to note and appreciate that step. Anyway, Old Growth Troll. Apparently, the trolls of whatever Trollland is, I've forgotten it, sometimes they sleep so long that they just become a part of the landscape. This is a 3 mana, 4/4, very similar to Yorvo, except Yorvo is legendary. This is not. Yorvo does grow, so, you know. 3 mana, 4/4, trample. Okay. When it dies, if it was a creature, return to the battlefield. If it's an aura enchantment with Enchant Forest you control, notably not basic forest, Enchant Forest. And Enchanted Forest has tap, add green, cool, and 1 tap, sacrifice this land, create a tapped 4/4 green troll warrior creature token with trample. So it doesn't bring itself back, right? You can't sack the land to get the actual troll back and keep like looping by destroying your own lands. Can't do that. But what's interesting is that if you play a green heavy Yorion deck, you play this early on. It goes on to one of your forests. You get to use that forest for extra mana, and eventually, like once you get to the later part of the game, you Yorion out the enchantment version of this card, because the card comes back. The forest isn't enchanted by a token enchantment. You flicker the enchantment, it comes back as the troll. So that is something to notice. Will this replace Yorvo in green Stompy lists? Possibly. And the reason I say that is because if you want to play, like, go back to a more Galta-oriented, like, big green Stompy, instead of kind of the build green Stompy, like, where your creatures slowly get larger, and it's just like, I'm playing big dude, then this might be better, because if it dies, you get ramp still. Masked Vandal. 2 mana. Common. Shapeshifter with Changeling. It's a 1/3. When it enters the battlefield, you may exile a card from your graveyard. If you do, exile target artifact or enchantment an opponent controls. Why couldn't this be white? Why couldn't this be white? This effect could be white. Am I right? I mean, it's fine as green. Like, these are things that green can do. Exile artifacts and enchantments. They also can exile things from graveyards. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? Like, green is allowed to do this. Green is maybe even primary in doing something like this. But this is the type of effect that people want to see when they ask for, like, more and better white cards. At least in my opinion, white doesn't need, like, 20 big flashy cards that are staples. White just wants a little bit more of the color pie and is allowed to have random decent cards or super synergistic cards. Whatever. Alrund, God of the Cosmos. This is essentially the Odin stand-in, if I'm correct, because he has one eye. And he chills with ravens, I guess. 5 mana, 1/1. Legendary creature god. Alrund gets +1/+1 for each card in your hand and each Foretold card you own in exile. I don't know if we talked about Foretold yet, but we'll get to one. Don't worry about it. At the beginning of your end step, choose a card type, then reveal the top 2 cards of your library. Put all cards of the chosen type into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. Interesting effect. You know, he sees things into the future. Delves deep to get you cards. Sure, it's fine. I don't find this very exciting. This though, Haka Whispering Raven is a 2-mana 2/3 in blue flying bird. When it deals combat damage to a player, return it to his owner's hand, then scry 2. Sure, you have to bounce it. When it deals damage to a player, you could just like play this on 2 against a more aggressive deck. It's like use things against me, and then like against control, you can potentially use this. I mean, you use this early against control, and then like you use this later. But it's interesting. I actually don't know if this is good. Like, it's like actually like playable in 60 card formats. Like, I feel like this card's very strong, but I don't know if this card is good enough. So maybe blue has a mythic that's not going to be played. Elvish Warmaster. So once again, we see the fact that it is truly extended. And, you know, we're not getting a lot more information out of the art, but it is actually extended. 2 mana, 2/2. Gonna go old-fashioned bear, elf warrior. It's not actually a bear. Whenever one or more other elves enter the battlefield under your control, create a 1/1 green elf warrior creature token. This ability triggers only once each turn. 7 total mana, 5 green. Elves you control get +2/+2 and gain death touch until end of turn. I like this card. I really like this card for wait a minute. Oh, okay, it says other elves. Okay. I really like this card for elf decks that have a lot of lords and want to go wide. The issue is I don't know if this even has room in the historic elf deck. Because what you really like to see in decks like that is creatures that make more creatures and creatures that can make your creatures deadly. This can do that. This does both, right? It makes it bolsters your army for each of the elves that you play, technically meaning you don't have to play into board wipes as bad. But also, it has an overrun style effect. And then you might be saying, and very reasonably, this doesn't give trample and the boon isn't that large. But the boon doesn't have to be that large on a card that already gives you more elves to work with. Is it going to see play in historic elves? I don't know. I don't play that deck because elves. But I do think, if nothing else, this is a cool concept. And I do like the fact that it's just this ability triggers only 1 a turn. I think that's absolutely fine. Binding the Old Gods. This is made of wood. It's full on wood, dude. 4 mana, 2 black-green for an enchantment saga. First one, destroy target non-land permanent and opponent controls. Okay, this is essentially an on-rate destruction spell. If you look at, technically it's not on-rate. The reason why it's technically not on-rate is because you have things like Maelstrom Pulse, right? This essentially is Maelstrom Pulse, but a little weaker. But the reason it's essentially on-rate is because of what's next. For the second one, search your library for a forest card, not basic forest, and put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. Okay, that's at that point reasonable. For the 3, creatures you control gain death touch until end of turn. And this, for what it's worth, that third part of the saga, I don't think is going to matter very frequently. But being able to destroy something and actually ramp yourself to essentially guarantee 6 mana on your 6th turn, not truly, but essentially, I think is going to be very helpful. Oh my fuck, is that those branches going into this thing's eyes? Oh my god. I'm definitely going to try it out in my Gladiator deck. Frostbite. This is like a worse spread. 1 mana for a snow instant. That is new and cool, sure. Frostbite deals 2 damage to target creature or planeswalker. If you control 3 or more snow permanents, it deals 3 damage instead. This is almost always going to deal 3 damage. You're going to be using snow basics and stuff. There's almost always going to be dealing 3 damage. The issue is that this could probably say 4 damage, and it would still probably just be fine. If we look at something like Skred, for what it's worth, Skred can only hit creatures. It deals damage to that creature equal to the number of snow permanents. So Scred can deal a lot more. Frostbite can't. Frostbite is capped at 3. Yes, it's a snow instant, which is going to matter. I'm sure there's going to be cards that allow you to like get snow cards from your graveyard and stuff. It's not what matters here. What matters is the cap on this card is so low. It's so low. And I don't think it would have broken anything to at least be capped at 4. But even if it's like you control 4 or more snow permanents, it deals 4. Like that's also fine. Although you would have potentially like, oh, that would have been so crisp, dude. You'd have 1 for the mana cost, 2 initial damage, needing 3 or more to deal 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Come on, that would have been beautiful. Vargoth, Bloodsky Sire. When I saw this art during the reveal, I was like, holy crap. Because it's hardcore. It's literally just like dead bodies. Just there, and it's awesome. I'm here for it. That said, I'll go to this one. 3 mana for a 2/3 Demon Rogue. Important to note that this is a rogue. Death Touch. Cool. Boast. Target player... 2 mana. Target player searches their library for a card, then shuffles their library and puts that card on top of it. You have to attack with this creature. I think raid is like you had to have attacked with a creature. Boast specifically requires the creature to attack. But this ability is quite good. You attack, you target yourself, and you get a card. Technically speaking, oh, never mind. Boast is only once per turn. That's unfortunate. 3 mana, 2/3 Death Touch. I mean, it's very reminiscent to things like Vampire Nighthawk. Obviously, Nighthawk is a super different card, but it's reminiscent. I don't think this card is going to be played in Rogues, but it's just a good card. I don't know. I love it, though. I absolutely love this card. Sarulf's Packmate. Sarulf is essentially the dog boy, the good boy. 4 mana, 3/3. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card. Foretell. During your turn, you may pay 2 and exile this card from your hand face down. Cast it on a later turn for its Foretell cost. This is a Hill Giant, I think. With, what the fuck? Gross. With the ability to just, draw a card. Now, green obviously has card draw attached to its creatures. But does it need even more? Come on! Come on! For what it's worth, Wizards has a lag. It takes so long to make sets that even if they recognize green being too good right now, it's going to take a while to actually implement it into actual sets, so... Whatever. I mean, it's, cool wolf. I like seeing more wolves. Alrund's Epiphany. 7 mana sorcery. Create 2 1/1 bluebird creature tokens with flying. Take an extra turn after this one, exile Alrund's Epiphany. More take an extra turn cards. I mean, like, you have to exile it, which is what all extra turn effects, or all extra turn cards should have. That's Foretell. 4/6. I don't think that's going to matter. I mean, it makes the total cost 8 instead of 7, but it makes the cost to cast the card only 6. So technically speaking, you can play this a turn earlier. I'm hoping this card just doesn't see any play. That's about it. Ooh, baby. Vorinclex. Confirmed Vorinclex. So we got the normal Vorinclex. Boring. We're gonna look at this. Oh, look at this. Delicious. Vorinclex, Monstrous Raider. First of all will be 1. 6 mana, 6/6, trample, haste, Phyrexian Praetor. Phyrexians now are going to have a unified creature type. I am stoked. I have a love for Phyrexia, as many of you probably are aware. I plan on having my first tattoo be the Phyrexian symbol on my left arm. I don't have it yet. I need to make sure I'm in a good place to get it. But I have a Phyrexian EDH deck. It's a theme deck that uses Atraxa It's not an Infect deck. It's not a Planeswalker deck. It's an Atrexa Phyrexia theme deck. I just have a bunch of Phyrexians. And having them get a real creature type means it's going to be easier for me to find the cards that are like sneaky, like they're like hidden Phyrexians, like a Sleeper Agent is a Phyrexian card. You just aren't going to necessarily know that. So I love it. Anyway, 6 mana, 6/6 triple haste. That alone, I love it. If you would put one or more counters on a permanent or player, put twice that many of each of those kinds of counters on that permanent or player instead. Let me reiterate. Put twice as many. Cool. If an opponent would put one or more counters on a permanent or player, they put half that many of each of those kinds, rounded down. So if your opponent would put 3, it's half, which is 1.5. Rounded down, it's 1. If your opponent would put 1 counter on something, it puts half of that, which is 0.5, rounded down. I love it. This is great with Planeswalkers, because you get to put twice as many. So let's say you have Vorinclex out. Okay. Then you play, I don't know, let's say... Wait, does Vorinclex work? I'm not... You know what? I'm not going to make any claims about Vorinclex just yet. He works nicely with Planeswalkers. He might work the opposite of Doubling Season. So Doubling Season, the way it works is, as a Planeswalker enters, you get to double the number of counters. But when you activate the Planeswalker's ability, you don't. I don't know if that's the same for Vorinclex. I don't know if it's different where it works with both. I don't know if it's different where it's the opposite. So I'm not going to make any claims about that just yet. All I do know is that this card is fucking sweet. Behold the Multiverse. So in this art here, I mean, I assume this is a piece of Theros. Don't know what this is. I assume this is a Frost Giant. I mean, maybe... I mean, this is Theros. Like, this is not a representation of Norse stuff. This looks like one of the Frost Giants, so I assume it's a Frost Giant. But I don't know what this is, and I don't know what this is. So cool. 4 mana, instant, scry 2, then draw 2 cards. Foretell 2. I think this card is a lot better than many people have been saying. And here's why. Being able to split mana across multiple turns is very good. The fact that... So typically... Okay, so in a control deck, right? You're going to want to have cards that do things. Counter spells, removal spells, etc. And you're going to want to have cards that find you those cards, aka draw spells. Often what you'll be doing, especially in a deck that uses a lot of counter spells, so let's say we're in blue-white control, is you'll be holding up mana in order to counter a thing. But if you don't counter that thing, you want to make sure that you have something else to do with that mana. So let's say you currently don't have any, 2 mana counter spells in your hand, but you have Behold the Multiverse. Now, if this was any other card, let's say Glimmer of Genius, you wouldn't be able to, like, you'd be doing nothing. You pass the turn on 2, you have nothing to do, your turn comes back to you. But now, if it's Behold the Multiverse, you get to foretell that. Does your opponent probably know it's Behold the Multiverse? Depends on how many good foretold cards there are. But what matters is that on a subsequent turn, let's say turn 3, your opponent casts something, and now you have a 2 mana counterspell. You can counter that thing. Let's say you still have that 2 mana counterspell, but your opponent doesn't cast something you care about. You can use Behold the Multiverse on turn 3 as opposed to turn 4. Let's say we're on turn 4. You know that you have 2 mana counterspells in your deck. You don't have any right now, and your opponent has just cast something that you need to counter. Previously, if this was just Glimmer, you'd be boned. You'd be able to draw the cards, but you wouldn't be able to pay for them. But if you had foretold this on an earlier turn, you can now cast it, dig for those counterspells, and even if you don't get it, you had a higher chance of winning the game. So I do think that Behold the Multiverse is going to be good, not just in standard context, but in a historic context as well. And you know what? In fact, I'm going to go ahead and just double check real quickly, continuing to talk to make it sound like time isn't passing as much. And I'm going to check the Azorius control deck. Does the Azorius control deck play any actual spells that draw cards? They fucking don't? Alright, never mind. Apparently they're only counter spells. They're like only counter spells, dude. What the I mean, they have commit to memory. And they have censor. What the this deck is just counter spells. It's nothing but counter spells. Alright, you know what? Never mind. I hate my life. Ignore what I just said. I'm sad. Augury Raven. 4 mana, 3/3, flying bird. You can foretell it for 2. So on turn 2, you can foretell it, and then the next turn, you can pay 2, and you get the bird slightly earlier than you otherwise would. But Justin, it takes 2 turns. Yeah, I mean it does. This is a common card. This is for draft. Like this is also just fine. This is a fine common for a flying archetype in draft. Absolutely fine. 4 mana for a 3/3 flyer, sure. And the fact that it has an extra payoff for a mechanic, sure. Glimpse the Cosmos. 2 mana sorcery. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. Pick one of them to put one of them into your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. As long as you control a giant, you may cast Glimpse the Cosmos from your graveyard by paying blue rather than paying its mana cost. If you cast Glimpse the Cosmos this way, and it would be put into your graveyard, exile it instead. So it is a sorcery. And it is giant tribal support, which is pretty cool. Look at the top 3 cards for library, one in your hand, the rest on the bottom. It's very similar to Anticipate, except obviously no. Anticipate. So Anticipate is an instant. What is it's a possibility? Possibility. Shimmer possibility. This looks at the top 4. Okay, so this one looks at the top 4, but this one can be used again. So some balance there. I do like the card. If Giants is a deck, you might play this. Now we get to the snow lands. We have snow basics. Cool. I'm not going to touch on those just because I don't want to. But these are interesting. When I first saw these, I didn't know they were common. These are common cards. And, you know, you could say, of course they're commons. They come into play tapped. But these are fetchable. They're forest plains. Plenty of things, I mean, specifically for forests, ask you to just get a forest. Not necessarily a basic forest, just a forest. And when those things do, you can grab things like this. I'm okay with the fact that these come in tapped. Could they have found a way to make these come in untapped? Not and keep them in common, frankly. If these were ever able to come in untapped, these would not be able to be common. But I do like the fact that they're fetchable. Even though they come in tapped. I love the fact that they're fetchable. It's awesome. It's cool. They're pauper legal. We're just going to look really quickly at these beautiful things. Arctic tree line, glacial floodplain, alpine meadow. I mean, gorgeous. Highland Forest. This looks a little bit too much like Highland something else. Highland Lake, I think. Copy. Paste. Rugged Highlands. I mean, yeah, it's a very similar composition, but you know they're Highlands, so I guess that's to be expected. Ice Tunnel, love this one. If you've seen like real glacial tunnels, like if you haven't, look that ish up. Glacial tunnels, they're really cool. Rhinewood Falls, I mean that's actually horrifying. Snowflake Sinkhole, Snowfield Sinkhole, that's also horrifying. Sulphurous Mire, dope. Volatile Fjord, got a fjord here, that's pretty cool. Woodland Chasm. Here, in the heart of the glacier. Reflections of Lityara. 5 mana, enchantment. Reflections of Lityara enter the battlefield, as they do. Choose a creature type. Whenever you cast a spell of the chosen type, copy that spell. A copy of a permanent spell will becomes a token. First of all, I love this. It goes straight into Riku. Fantastic. Into creature Riku. But what's of note here is that this works with tribal cards. So tribal is a card type that essentially is no longer being used by wizards, it appears. I mean, here, I'm just gonna... I'm gonna get a tribal card. Look at it real quick. By real quick, of course, I mean incredibly slowly, because Scryfall is taking forever to load. I'm just gonna pause. And of course, as soon as I pause, it works. Anyway, tribal sorcery. Eldrazi. This has a creature type attached to it. So, if we choose the creature type Eldrazi, and we cast All is Dust, we get to copy all his dust. For what it's worth, that wouldn't really work nicely here, but all I'm saying is that there are weird situations where the fact that it just says whenever you cast a spell is important. Another reason it's important is because typically when you see something like this, it would be worded such that the creature has to enter the battlefield. Whenever a creature that you cast or something enters the battlefield, create a token, or you could even just say non-token creature of the same type enters the battlefield. Copy it. This lets you get a version of that creature, even if the OG card gets countered. Right, so you play out Reflections, naming, let's say, giants. You then cast a 6-mana giant, let's say Inferno Titan, and your opponent counters the Inferno Titan. Well, first, before that happened, this triggered one on the stack, and you copied the Inferno Titan. No, you have 2 copies of Inferno Titan on the field, or on the stack. Your opponent counters one of them, they can't counter the other one. You get an Inferno Titan, you deal 3 damage to their stuff, and you love life. Wouldn't it be sick if they just like reprinted Inferno and Frost Titan? Because they fit. Wouldn't that be sick? Wouldn't that be sweet? Wouldn't everyone love it? I know I would. Outside of hilariously wonky scenarios like that, it's good for memes, but the fact that it's a 5-mana enchantment means that it's probably not going to see any realistic play in Standard Historic. Gatorade Ice Punch. Alright, sure. 3 mana, Enchant Land. Enchant Land is snow. Whenever Enchanted Land is tapped for mana, its controller adds an additional mana of any color. This is similar to Gift of Paradise, although obviously different. This is snow stuff. This doesn't gain you life, and it doesn't add extra. No, it does. Yeah, no, this is similar. You're getting rid of the life gain in order to make something snow. This is helpful. This is helpful in certain circumstances. For example, if you're playing a multicolor snow deck in Historic, and even if you're playing the snow duels, the ones that come in tapped, you're probably going to want to make sure that you have duels that come in untapped as well. So okay, you do that, and the issue is that these duels, well, they're not snow permanents, so they don't benefit your snow things. So what you can do is you put this in the deck, you enchant it onto those things, and now they are snow permanents. Is that going to come off often enough where this card's going to see any play? I mean, I can't really say for now. My guess is no. But I am willing to accept the world in which that does occur. Goldspan Dragon. AKA Smoke. 5 mana, 4/4 Flying Haste. Whenever Goldspan Dragon attacks, or becomes the target of a spell, create a treasure token. It's very interesting that, this could just be confirmation bias, but it feels like Wizards has been doing a little bit more of, like, does a thing or is the target of a spell. And I like that. I think it's cool. Create a treasure token. Cool. You can immediately get a treasure token, potentially. Treasures you control have tap, sacrifice this artifact, add 2 mana of any color. You double the effectiveness of treasures. You can attack immediately because this thing has haste. You are getting a rebate of 2 mana on this card as soon as you attack with it. That's pretty good. It is a mythic. You can play this with Gadrak. How many things does Gadrak need? Gadrak. You might be able to, 4 or more. That's not a lot. Bruh, this just says target of a spell. This does not say target of a spell an opponent controls. Yo, okay. So in EDH, there is a card, I think it's Zerda? It's not Zerda. It's, shoot. Z, and then color is red. Who are you? Mario? No, I'm not crazy. There's a freaking no, it's a Zendikar goblin. There's a freaking wait, type ledge. No. Legendary. I'm not crazy, I swear. Zara! There it is. I was right. I was right. Okay, so Zada, right? Whenever you cast an instant sorcery spell that targets only Zada, copy that spell. Blah blah blah. You copy those other targets. But in that deck, essentially, what you do is you play a bunch of cards that target a single creature and draw you cards. This card back here, if you target it with something that costs 1 or maybe 2 if you need to, you're netting mana and you get to draw more through your deck. This goes right into Zada. Shut up! I entered a fugue stake there for a second. I think it's cool. The fact that it targets your own. Can you maybe play this in Feather? Like, does this make Feather decks a little bit better? Because it's a slightly larger creature? Even if it's just like a 2-off, maybe? I mean, Feather decks are nowhere right now, so, you know, maybe it could bring it back. I don't know, but I like the card. All right, I like the card. Kyo, it's a cool dragon. Giant's Amulet. See this gross glowing facial features. A 1-mana artifact enchantments. I do, once again, appreciate the fact that Wizards is just making colored equipment now. I like it. When Giant's Amulet enters the battlefield, you may pay 3 into blue. If you do, create a 4/4 blue giant wizard creature token, then attach Giant's Amulet to it. So, this essentially is a... Well, I should get to the next part. Equipped creature gets +0/+1 and this creature has hexproof as long as it's untapped. Equip 2. This essentially can be a 5-mana 4/5 giant with hexproof as long as it's untapped. We've seen blue have this effect in, I want to say, a turtle, but we've seen blue have an effect of like, as long as it's untapped, it has hexproof. We've seen it in Ojutai as well, I believe. As just an equipment, I'm not sure how much I love it because of the restriction. It wants to be on a defender. Right? It wants to be on something that's on D. 1 mana, 2 to equip. I don't know. I can't evaluate this card. Yeah, I can't evaluate this card, like, at all. Calamity Bearer. A really cool fire giant. 4 mana, 3/4 giant berserker. If a giant source you control would deal damage to a permanent or player, it deals double that damage to that permanent or player instead. That includes itself. So this essentially attacks for 6. It turns your Bonecrusher Giant's Stomp into 4 damage. There's another giant that like throws other giants around, doubles that. It makes your Tectonic Giant, which is also a 4 mana 3/4 for what it's worth, deal 6 damage when it attacks or is targeted, instead of only dealing 3. This card is sick, and I cannot wait to make Izzet Giants in Historic. Forging the Tyrite Sword. 3 mana for an enchantment saga. Both 1 and 2 create a treasure token. And then 3, search your library for a card named Halvar, God of Battle, or an equipment card. Any equipment card. Reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. So obviously, the reason this search is for Halvar is because the other side of Halvar is an equipment, but you can't search for the equipment side of Halvar because everywhere else, Halvar is just Halvar. But you also search for equipment. It's... I don't like the fact that the first 2 parts of the saga essentially do nothing. I mean, maybe they do and I'm dumb. Because with this card, I'm thinking like Brawl, I'm thinking EDH, I'm thinking things like that. And so for Brawl, or for EDH specifically, I have a recently created Ruhan gear montage equipment deck. And I like the fact that this just searches for an equipment. I don't like the treasures like do nothing. I mean, I don't know. I like the third part of the saga. I don't like the first 2. I could be just dumb and wrong. And then last for Scryfall is Bretogard Stronghold. It's a land, enters the battlefield tapped, adds a green. Sure, cool. Green, white, white. Tap, sacrifice Bredegard Stronghold, put a 1/1 counter on each of up to 2 target creatures you control. They gain Vigilance and Lifelink until end of turn. Activate this ability only anytime you can cast a sorcery. I hate this fucking line of text. Would this card be too good if you could activate at instant speed? Right? Like, consider things like Gavany Township. Specifically Gavany Township. Right? Consider that. With Gavany Township, yes, the ability costs more. 1 more. But you don't even have to sacrifice it. The land doesn't come in tapped. Yes, I recognize that this adds colored mana. Gavany does not. Sure. Cool. That makes up for the fact that it comes in tapped. Why you do me like this, Wizards? Let it activate at any time. Stop it. One thing, so I prefer doing preview stuff on Scryfall because I just like the orientation. I like visually how it looks. Unfortunately, they are slow. So the rest of the cards I'll be on Mythic Spoiler. Another reason I don't like Mythic Spoiler that much is because it just has comments here, and I try not to have any of them. Raven Form, 3 mana, sorcery, common. Exile target artifact or creature. Its controller creates a 1/1 blue bird creature token flying. It has Foretell of a single blue. So you know how white is supposed to essentially be the best color at removal? Like, allegedly, that's white's thing. They're the best at removal. They get the most effective by exiling. They get to exile things. That's what white does. Exile things. And I recognize that blue can technically turn things into other things, and that's why it's not real removal. This is a removal card in blue. Point blank, period. This is just a removal card in blue. How is this justifiable? Like, I do not understand. Yes, technically you can turn to things. You can turn frogs to things. You can turn to snake things. Oftentimes, you have like if you have things like Pongify, right? Those things turn they can turn a big threat into something that's still a reasonable threat. A 1/1 bird is nothing. If you exile an Ulamog with this card, that is removal. That is straight up just exile based removal. Period. Why is this card blue? Do you know what this could say? Do you know what this could say right here? It could say they get a 1/1 white spirit creature token flying. It could say exactly that. I mean, we can look right here. Crypt Swap. Exile our creature, control makes a thing. I recognize that this is instant. I recognize that this is sorcery. That doesn't excuse the fact that there's like no reason for this to be blue, dude. I hate it. The Trickster God's Heist. 2 blue black for a saga. First one, you may exchange control of 2 target creatures. Second one, you may exchange control of 2 target non-basic, non-creature permanents that share a card type. So you can switch around lands, but like, eh. And then third one, target player loses 3 life and you gain 3 life. Interesting note here by Mort. Weird flex, but you can exchange this for Elspeth Conqueror's Death. For what it's worth, right? If this is on, this is on the second one, and your opponent's on the second one, if you don't care about a 6 life swing, that can be a good thing to do. It's not even technically a weird flex, right? You can literally just take their Elspeth Conqueror's Death and then reanimate something of yours that has died. Generally speaking, this card is not very good. You need to have a desire to exchange things. You want to be giving your opponent. You want to either be taking something really good from your opponent and giving them something not great. You know what? Maybe you play like kind of garbo creatures that have decent ETBs. So you have the 2 mana rat that forces your opponent to discard a card. Or like Fibble Thip or something like that. They like exchange those. And then maybe you have like enchantments? Maybe? Where like you enchant like one of your own lands, for example, and then you swap it with a different enchantment. Because then your opponent controls the enchantment, but they don't control your land. So like maybe you can do something like that, but at that point, like, is the build around worth the payoff? And I just don't think it is. Path to the World Tree, a 2-mana green enchantment. When Path to the World Tree enters the battlefield, search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, and put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. 2 Ruleboard. Sacrifice Path to the World Tree, you gain 2 life, draw 2 cards, target opponent loses 2 life. Path to the World Tree deals 2 damage to up to 1 target creature, nothing or planeswalker, and you create a 2/2 green bear creature token. Does Wizards not realize that drawing 2 cards is worth way more than the other 2s? I understand the point of having all of them like be 2. Why do it here though? Like, this is not where you need to do it. Like, no one's gonna care about this like they cared about Grizzlebrand, right? 2 cards is worth way more than 2 life. It's probably worth like 10 life minimum. 2 cards probably worth 5 damage. That's loss of life. 4 loss of life. Dealing damage to a creature. That's definitely worth at least 5 damage to a creature. And then drawing 2 cards, probably a minimum 3/3 bear. Minimum 3/3. Maybe a 4/4 bear. But like 2 cards is the only part of this that matters. Which is stupid, but whatever. Tivar Kell. I like this card. I'm gonna say it up front. I don't like elves, but I like this card because it is narrow. I like planeswalkers that are powerful but narrow. 4 mana, 3 loyalty, walker. Elves you control have tap, add a black. Cool. This makes your Llanowar elves be able to tap for a wider array of things. I'm going to die. +1. Put a 1/1 counter on up to 1 target elf. Untap it. It gains death touch until end of turn. So what's nice here is that it untaps the elf. So this means is that if you play an elf on turn 1, turn 2 you do, and who cares? And then on turn 3 you play Tivar. You can untap that elf that you used to help you cast Tivar. You make it bigger, and you give it, death touch, so maybe your opponent's not going to block as much. 0. Create a 1/1 green elf warrior creature token. It's not the beefiest of tokens, but it is free. And essentially it's, hey, Tivar can protect himself. For what it's worth, Tivar can protect himself with a +1 as well, especially if you have an elf that use mana to make Tivar. -6. You get an emblem with whenever you cast an elf spell, it gains haste until the end of turn, and you draw 2 cards. Notably, this is not a May ability. You gotta draw the 2 cards. Be careful. But this is an emblem that Wizard doesn't necessarily expect you to get frequently or fast, because you gotta plus at least 3 times and then use the emblem. And there's a lot of possibility of it of Tivar getting hit. As I said, I love the card. It's very similar to Nissa Ravane. I mean, essentially, it feels like a fixed Nissa Ravane, right? It very much feels like a fixed version of this. Does this see play in elf decks? In a non-aggro elf deck, maybe like kind of a more mid-rangey elf deck, possibly. But I don't know if that's gonna fit in. I love this card. Kolvori, God of Kinship. 4 mana, 2/4, God. As long as you control 3 or more legendary creatures, Kolvori gets +4, +2, and has vigilance. She, very important to me, becomes a 6/6 with vigilance as long as you control 3 or more legendary creatures. She includes herself. This is not other creatures. You just need 2 other creatures, 2 other legendary creatures for Kolvori to be fucking swole. Could you play like a stupid Bant Legends deck just to play Kolvori really hard? You play like turn 2 Fibblethip, turn 3 like Linvala or something, turn 4 Kolvori? I mean, she doesn't technically need to be that large until turn 5, so you could even do something different, where like it's turn 1 like Elf, Mana Dork, turn 2 Linvala, turn 3 Kolvori, turn 4 play some other legend, maybe a god. Oh, they'd have to be one of these gods, but not like a Theros god, because those aren't always creatures. And then you're attacking for 6. I love it. That's not the part I love. Pay 2, tap. Look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal a legendary creature card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. This essentially is Mael's ability. Mael the Anua. This is obviously better because it only costs 2, and it looks at the top 6, and its ability is technically less restrictive. As long as you're making the deck properly. I mean, the main thing is it costs less. On the flip side, the Ringheart Crest, 2 mana legendary artifact. As the ring heart crest enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Fun fact, I don't care about that part. Tap, add green. Spend this mana only to cast a creature spell of the chosen type or a legendary creature spell. Now, some among you may know I have a EDH deck that I love. It's helmed by Captain Sisse. Yes, I said helm on purpose. I'm funny. And it's called Girls Night Out. The only cards in the deck, all of the cards in the deck have to essentially be girls. Klavori not only is another girl I can put in Sisse's Girls Night Out, she has legendary synergy. I am so happy about this card. I was fucking stoked when I saw this. She is so cool, especially for that deck. I'm also going to try to make Legends a deck on Historic. Hailstorm Valkyrie, 4-mana 2/2 Snow Angel Wizard, flying trample. Interesting flample on a 2/2, except you can pay Snow to give it +2/+2 until end of turn. That's pretty good. I mean, this might be a pretty decent, like, high pick in the snow, like a snow aggressive deck, I guess. I mean, 4 mana for flying trample 2/2 isn't the best. Like, typically you want to pay 3 mana for a 2/2 flyer, but this does just like come with upside. And it's not like you can only pay it once. Like, you can make this a 6/6 for 4 mana. I like it. I just don't know. Sculptor of Winter. Grody. 2 mana, 2/2. Okay, 2 mana, 2/2. Untap target snowland. Cobalt, you're definitely correct to point this out. Why the fuck is this a rogue? Like, why is this not a cleric, a druid, a shaman? Why is this a rogue? No. Wizards need to fucking explain this card. Why is this a rogue? And what, like, sure, maybe they're like, oh, we need more Zendikar tribal support for the party. Make it a cleric. Make it a fucking cleric. Make it a wizard before you make it a fucking rogue. How's it a fucking rogue, dude? The fuck is this? You think this is fucking... Also, the ears are creepy. I don't like this. Fuck you. This card, dude. Whatever. Cosmos Charger. Creature, Horse Spirit, 4 mana, 3/3 flash flyer. Why does it gotta have flash and flying, though? Like, why? Why? Oh, it's Slipnir. Oh, yeah, it has the multiple... It's not a legendary! What the... Whatever. Foretelling cards from your hand cost 1 mana less and can be done on any player's turn. Foretell for 3 total. I mean, it's cool Foretell card. I'm just upset that Slipnir got slept on. That's upsetting. Is anyone else going to say? No. I mean, it's cool that you can foretell things at instant speed. Oh, wait. Can be done on any... Wait. What? Oh, wait a minute. Foretell is weird. You can foretell at any point on your turn. During your turn, you may pay 2 and exile this card from your hand face down. Yeah, you don't have to foretell at sorcery speed. You just can only do it on your turn. So you can foretell something in response to someone doing something. You can foretell something in the middle of combat. Interesting. And now you can just do it on anyone's turn. Interesting. That's the thing. I love the art by Nils. I like the card generally. I can hate blue things that have flash and flying, just, you know, trigger. But I'm just sad that it's let me get fucked. Koma's Faithful. So apparently the World Serpent's name is Koma. 2 mana, or 3 mana, sorry. 2 in a black. Elf Cleric, lifelink. When it dies, each player mills 3 cards. That's about it. It's not very good. Yay, Village Rights is still in standard. I don't really care. Cool. I like this art. Igor does great stuff. Seize the Spoils. 3 mana sorcery. As an additional cost to cast the spell, discard a card, draw 2 cards, and create a treasure token. Obviously, as you can see, this is one thing I will say I do like about Mythic Spoiler is that they do have a thesaurus here where you can kind of look at other similar cards. Very similar to Pirate's Pillage. Pirate's Pillage gives you, I think, two tokens as well. Just wait. Creating treasure. Yeah, so this one, the only difference is this gives you 2 treasure. This gives you 1 treasure. I have to point out, Jesper, this guy is probably my favorite artist, my favorite MTG artist at this point. And like, I'm so envious because MTG Mudsta plays against him on EDH, and I want to like bother Mudsta and be like, can you please just let him know that I think he's great and he's the best person to illustrate Bolas ever. But I'm not gonna do that. This art is great, dude. Meme treasure deck, I'll make it, I promise, but yeah. Esika, God of the Tree. 3 mana for a 1/4 Vigilance God. Tap, add 1 mana of any color. Other legendary creatures you control have Vigilance, and tap, add 1 mana of any color. This can go in that dumb legendary deck that I was talking. Oh my god, this can go in the dumb legendary deck I was talking about. Huh. Alright. The other side. The Prismatic Bridge. Riff on the Rainbow Bridge from Norse mythology. Warborg. Legendary enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a creature or planeswalker. Okay, put that card on the battlefield and put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So I'm putting this into my Chromat EDH deck that is a planeswalker deck, because that's pretty sweet. And even if I don't have the mana for the Prismatic Bridge, I can just cast Esika to help me add mana. Well, looks like I'm going to play a Legendaries Matter 5-color Brawl deck at some point. And I'm going to be making a legendary deck that runs Esika and the other lady. Hey, look, it's Koma, Cosmo Serpent. Once again, yes, pricing. Just beautimous art. 3 green, blue. It's 7 mana. Creature Serpent. This spell can't be countered. At the beginning of each upkeep, not just yours, each upkeep, create a 3/3 blue serpent creature token named Koma's Coil. Sacrifice another serpent, choose 1. Tap target permanent. Its activated abilities can't be activated this turn. Koma, Cosmo Serpent, gains indestructible until end of turn. So I currently don't have a blue-green EDH deck. And I considered making this into a blue-green EDH deck. Because blue-green has a lot of snakes. This is not a snake, this is a serpent. And it's not sacrifice a serpent or snake, it's sacrifice specifically a serpent. And I'm very sad. I'm heartbroken. I love Koma. I love it. And I could maybe make a serpent deck. But it's not the same. It's not the same. Very cool card, though. Very fun seeming. Probably gonna play it in Brawl. I like it. I'm just disappointed. The World Tree. Woo! Land. The World Tree enters the battlefield tapped. Add green as long as you control 6 or more lands. As long as you control 6 or more lands, lands you control have tap. Add 1 mana of any color. So maybe we're going to chromatic green instead of chromatic black. Maybe you just put this in chromatic black and you don't care. Regardless, white, blue, black, red, and green, aka Milivoj. Sacrifice the World Tree, search your library for any number of God cards, put them onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. That's fucking hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. Are we going to make a God Brawl deck? Yes. Are we going to win with it? Probably not. Is it going to be fun? Yes. I mean, yeah, this... I see using this in chromatic decks and meme god decks. Other than that, I don't think... I don't know where I would play this. It could be played elsewhere, I just don't know where I would play it. Freya, Judge of Valor. 2 white, black for an Angel Cleric. Flying, lifelink. Whenever you cast your second spell each turn, look at the top 3 cards of your library, put 1 of them into your hand, the rest in your graveyard, for a 2/4. When you cast your second spell each turn, I don't... I'm not sure I understand that part. It is cool that it's kind of card advantage style thing. I mean, it is card advantage. And because it's in Orzhov, the fact that you put it into your the other ones in your graveyard makes a lot of sense. I like it. Art's great. Like, everything about this card is cool. I don't see it. Tormentor's Helm. So these last ones I actually haven't read yet. Single red for an artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+1. Whenever equipped creature becomes blocked, it deals 1 damage to defending player. Equip 1. Interesting. It essentially, oh, Adam said the same thing. It has afflict 1 essentially, and it's relatively inexpensive too. This seems like a decent equipment. I mean, 1 and 1 to equip for +1/+1 isn't bad. And you have afflict 1. I like this. Yeah, I definitely like this. Just looking at the thesaurus to see if there's anything else that's similar. No, this is like unique and cool. I like it. Blizzard Fight. Oh god. Green, snow sorcery. Choose target creature that you control and target creature you don't control. If you control 3 or more snow permanents, the creature you control gets +1/+0 and has indestructible until end turn. Then the creatures fight. Cool. It's Snow Fight. People always fight fucking bears, dude. Always bears. Hour-long video, dude. Whatever. It's fine. It's not like I was gonna record anything else today. No, it's good. It's good if you're playing a kind of mid-range creature-based snow deck. Seems decent. Especially, like, essentially, right? You have the oh, I guess this is just a constant threshold of 3 snow permanents. That's, I guess, why they did that for the other one. So it would have been better my way. 1, 2, 3, and 4. But yeah, the creature you control and then like even just two snow lands would activate this. So giving indestructible is quite nice. Even just that, the +1 is also quite nice. Yeah, I like it. It's fine. Despertar a las Trolles. Awaken the Trolls. 4 red-green for a saga. First one, destroy target land. Okay. Second one, put target land from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. And third one, oh, this is rare, okay. Choose target opponent. If they control less lands than you, create 4/4 warrior. Choose target opponent. If they control less lands than you, create 4/4 warrior troll creature tokens with reach equal to the difference in land. Shouldn't that be fewer? If they control fewer lands, isn't it fewer? Because that read really weird. Whatever. Interesting. This is meant to be like the top end in a land destruction deck. I mean, or just like a ramp deck, I guess. Ugh, whatever, you could do that. I love it. Shut the fuck up. Seems slow to me. Awaken the Trolls, all about land destruction. This is why this place is weird. Iron Verdict. 3 mana, instant. Iron Verdict deals 5 damage to target tapped creature. Portel, white. Compare this fucking card to the blue card. The blue card not only can hit artifacts, it can hit creatures that are not tapped. Not only that, it exiles. It doesn't deal damage. This is the stuff I'm talking about. This is just worse. Yes, it's an instant. I don't care. If this card doesn't do anything reasonable, I don't care. I mean, you know, it can deal 5 damage to a tapped creature. It's common, I get it. Was the blue thing common? I don't even remember. Oh. Ravenform. It's common, yep. I mean, compare these cards, right? Same foretell cost, essentially, right? Single color. Same like actual cost. 3. The difference is this is a sorcery, the other one's an instant. The most important difference, this just exiles and it hits artifacts, and the thing doesn't have to be tapped. Wizards. I'm not gonna say it. Tegrid, Goddess of Dread. No, she's got a fear. We've had a translated version of this. I don't know. Whatever. Goddess of Fear and her lantern. 3 black, legendary creature god. Oh god, I do not like how they templated this. It's awful. She's a 4. What the? This is terrible. This is terrible for formatting. She is a 4/5 with Menace. Whenever an opponent sacrifices a non-token permanent or discards a permanent card. I didn't read that part initially. That's pretty hype. You can put that card from your great. There's a translated version of this card. Give me a second. Sorry about that. Tegrid, God of Fear, apparently there's just a MTG Goldfish translation, but still. 5 mana, 4/5, legendary god. Menace, whenever an opponent sacrifices a non-token permanent or discards a permanent card, you may put that card onto the battlefield under your control from a graveyard. Okay. So essentially, first of all, this is a hilarious counter to sacrifice decks. It's just funny. You can put this in something like Doom Foretold, because this is discard. This cares about discard as well. Like, you can just have targeted discard, so you can just play this in a discard deck as kind of super high top end. The fact that it has a Menace is quite good, being able to just hit things regardless. But then we flip over to the Lantern, 4 mana for a legendary artifact. Tap, target player loses 3 life unless they sacrifice a non-land permanent or discard a card. Cool. This also just kind of fits into the discarding thing. And you can pay for and untap Tegrid's Lantern. So as I said, this can go into the like mono black discard decks, because one of the issues that those decks tend to have is running out of gas and putting your opponent into top deck mode. With Tegrid's Lantern, you have an instant speed way of either forcing them to lose life or discard a card. And because you can use your mana to untap this card, once you get to that late game where your opponent and you are both essentially on top deck mode, you can just, on their draw step, after they've drawn a card, you tap this. If they lose 3 life, you pay 4 mana, untap it, tap this. Let's say they lose another 3 life. By the time you get to this point, maybe you have 8 total mana. You tap that other 4, untap this, do it again. It cost them 9 life to keep that 1 card. Right? And you have other things affecting them. You have your Davriels, you have your is that card? Waste Not, where you have these cards as well, putting pressure on what your opponent is able to keep and not keep. I'm definitely going to try it out. I don't know if it's good enough, but it does fit a nice curve there. I mean, hell, even if the lovely thing about these gods specifically is that you don't care as much if you top deck additional versions, because you just play the other face of this card. So you can even just like turn 1 discard spell, turn 2 discard creature, turn 3 Davriel, turn 4 the Lantern, turn 5 Peregrine, right? Seems decent. Seems incredibly decent. And after that destruction of my throat, I'd like to say I do have a PO box. Feel free to send me things. I'll open it on camera. And I'd like to thank my lovely patrons, especially Fogwind, Malik, and Balater, for the continued support. If you'd like to join them supporting the show, you'll find links in the description below. Do, of course, hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, like, comment, subscribe. And until next time, all be one.